DNA is a double helix composed of many nucleotides. A nucleotide is composed of deoxyribose sugar, which is 5 carbons, a phosphate group, and nitrogenous bases. So there's 5 nitrogenous bases. There's adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, and uracil, which is only found in RNA. And then adenine and guanine are purines, thymine, uracil, and cytosine are pyrimidines. And then adenine pairs with thymine and makes 2 bonds. Guanine and cytosine pair together to make 3 bonds. And then the DNA polymer is made up from the 5' to 3' and then 3' to 5', so it's anti-parallel. Okay, so DNA follows the semi-conservative model. So what will happen is helicase will come in and cut the DNA in half, and then the single-stranded binding proteins will attach to the DNA so that it doesn't bind back together. And then primase comes in and it starts to add the RNA bases to the 5' end, because DNA polymerase 3 can only add in to the 3' end. So it'll come in and add RNA bases, so like G will pair with C, and then you have A will pair with U. And then, so it will do this for like 5 to 10 nucleotides long, we're showing a model. And then after that, DNA polymerase 3 will come in and it will add in its, what do you call it, DNA bases. So you have C.
Which pairs with G, and then T pairs with A, and C pairs with G. So DNA polymerase 3 will continue, so then we'll add the rest of the bases, so then you have G pairs with C again, and A pairs with T, G pairs with C, and then A pairs with T.
And this will continue to the rest. And then afterward, then DNA polymerase 1 will come in, and it'll change these RNA nucleotides. They'll come over here instead of primase, and it'll take these RNA nucleotides and replace them with DNA nucleotides. So you'll have G replaced with C, and then the U of RNA will be replaced with the T for DNA, and it'll continue on, so then you'll have one continuous daughter strand. When DNA polymerase 3 adds in its DNA bases, it's adding the phosphodiester bond between the nucleotides, and that's what makes a continuous daughter strand.
Okay, so after the helicase splits the 2 strands of the DNA, the single-stranded binding proteins attach to make sure that the DNA don't bind back together and the hydrogen bonds don't form. And then after they maintain the separation, primase comes in and adds RNA primers to the DNA bases. So that way they match up. So A pairs with U, and C would pair with G, like that. And the reason that they need to provide RNA is so that way the DNA polymerase 3, whenever it comes in, has a primer to start building the DNA bases off of. So after it has a priming, for the RNA, the DNA polymerase 3 comes in. I'll just put it right there. It comes in and it starts to add nucleotides.
So, T would pair with A, C would pair with G, G would pair with C.
And then since this is the lagging strand and it's going away from the replication fork, this is going to produce Okazaki fragments, which means that the DNA is not going to be completed in one continuous movement. So after it creates one strand of like fragmented DNA, it's going to stop producing and it's going to start over by adding RNA bases. So A would pair with U. Primase would come back in starting here, so if you want I can move that to add the RNA. G would pair with C. And then after you have the primer, DNA polymerase 3 would come in and start adding nucleotides again.
So T would pair with A, and G would pair with C, and C would pair with D.
So now we have 2 Okazaki fragments, this one right here and this one right here, both starting with RNA primers and then going into nucleotides. So after a number of Okazaki fragments have been formed, DNA polymerase 1 is going to come in and attach, and it's going to start to replace these RNA bases with nucleotides. So it's going to
remove the U, which isn't present in DNA, and put the T. And then it's going to remove this RNA G and replace it with a nucleotide G. And after that, so this a whole Okazaki fragment is now all nucleotides. It's going to move on to the next Okazaki fragment. And it's going to replace these RNA primers with nucleotides. So that way
the whole new strand of DNA that has just been created is now in nucleotides, not in RNA, because that is for RNA, not DNA. So then after DNA polymerase 1, ligase comes in and forms a phosphodiester bond between the old strand of DNA and the new strand of DNA to connect all the Okazaki fragments, so it's one continuous piece of DNA.